Hi and welcome. I'm Linda and I'll be sharing with you today how I made this card from a stamp set from Altenew called Wild About You. And I'm going to do a watercolor technique today that I have seen others do, but I think this is the first time I've actually tried this technique. I started off with a piece of Canson watercolor paper and I put that in my MISTI. I'm using distress inks and I will start off with Shaded Lilac and I'm going to ink up my stamp and then I will spritz it with some water and then I will stamp it. And the first one I had a little too much water and so I used a paintbrush to try to move the water a little bit, and you notice the second one worked a little better. I will be using Squeezed Lemonade distress ink for the yellow flowers, the base layer of the yellow flowers, and doing the same technique, spritzing it with water and then stamping it. For the stems and leaves, I will be using Twisted Citron distress ink. And as I went to place this stamp, I wiped off the area where it was going to be over the yellow flower so that it would look like it was behind the yellow flower. As you're placing the stems, because they're long and skinny, you can get those to move in the other direction by just lifting up and moving it. For the stems at the bottom, I ended up folding the stem so that it would not interfere with stamping it. For the second layer of the flowers, I will be using Wilted Violet and Mustard Seed. stems and leaves did not have a second layer, so I used a paintbrush and mowed lawn distress ink to add some details to them. Placed my panel back in my MISTI and used my anti-static powder tool to treat the paper. And then I will use Versamark ink and stamp the Wild onto my panel and then black heat emboss it. And I will do that twice so that it fills in more of the watercolor paper and rounds out the letters. I used some 1-inch wide double-sided tape and covered the back of my panel, and I adhered it to a green card base. Strip of the same green cardstock, and I will stamp my sentiment strip onto that in Versamark ink and black heat emboss that as well. To cut it down and then adhere it to my card with some 3M foam tape. I'm going to finish off my card by adding some Nuvo crystal drops in clear and some sequins. That finishes this one off. Thanks so much for joining me today. Bye!